Welcome into another episode of Everything is Logistics, a podcast for the thinkers in freight. We are proudly presented by SPI Logistics, and I am your host, Blythe Brumleve. Speaking of SPI Logistics, we've got one of their freight agents on today's episode, and that's Tynan Guthrie. Did I pronounce that right? I probably did not.
First name, last name, Guthrie.
Guthrie. Sorry, I had the extra O in there, so
Yeah.
apologies for that.
Yeah.
But welcome into the show. Give us a sense of where you're located geographically.
So I'm located, it's called Courtenay, British Columbia. It's on Vancouver Island, about 2.5 hours north of Victoria, which is a beautiful city on the Vancouver Island. And we've been here for a couple of years now.
Nice. What's the weather like up there right now?
Been an amazing summer. Last summer was really rainy. We didn't get summer until the last week of July and the month of August. And then this year it started all of May straight through now. It's still sunny. So only a couple of days of rain. So we've been very lucky this year.
Very lucky. Now, what are the temperatures like up in Canada? What does summer look like in Canada?
So summer for us would be right around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, I would say. Yeah, mid 20 Celsius. And then winter times, it doesn't get too cold where we are, which is why we liked it. It's very mild winters, surprisingly.
Yeah, I say that I'm a Florida gal, and so our summers are like 110
That's
with the
so fun.
humidity, and then winters are maybe like 30 degrees is the low. That's
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, that's so funny. That is yeah, probably similar to us. It would probably be right around 30 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay. So yeah, we hardly ever hit like 30s. I think in Florida, in my area, our state froze for 3 or 4 days in a row, and it just wreaked havoc on all of the agriculture all
Really?
over the state. So there's a lot of, especially for us in the South, it's one of those things where if it freezes too many days in a row, then like orange crops get destroyed. But then it kills a lot of the lizards and the bugs. So I guess a
Oh,
yin and a yang with that
yeah.
situation. So tell me a little bit about you and how you got started in the freight industry. Was freight always on your radar, or did you just get lumped into it by typically like a family member or somebody dragging you in?
Yeah, I would say dragging me in. My family is all construction side, and
Mm.
so that's what I thought I'd always do is construction. And then I went to university, and after 1 year of my university program that I was taking, I wasn't a huge fan of the program, and so I was thinking about making a switch for the next term.
Mm.
And at that time, a family member said that there might be an opening at SPI, but they're looking for somebody with experience more so than anything. And I just walked in and I met with the then at the time, the vice president. His name was Greg. And I sat down with him and I said, I'll work for free. And so it's pretty hard to deny or not accept free work. And I said,
Right.
I don't want anything. So no point in paying me if I can't offer any value to you. But I'm sure within a few months, even 6 months of it needed to be, we'd get to the point where I brought enough value that I could be compensated for my time.
And so, what did those initial tasks look like? What were they having I guess, a freight intern do?
It was all with the operations team because that's what happened was one of the girls at the SBI head office, their operation girl, she broke her leg, and so she was out for about a year. It was a pretty extended medical procedure for her. And so they just needed somebody to help operations. And so that's what I did. I sat in the middle of the operations department and just did whatever I could to learn transportation, whether I was watching YouTube videos to know how to talk
Wow.
to truck drivers or find a truck driver to move a load or how to work with the LTL programs. So just did anything I can do to learn and grasp the knowledge. Just being in the mix of it where you learn most of it.
What were those early things? If you could take me back to that time frame of what were the things that you were hearing that were like, what the heck are they talking about? Why do we do this way?
Yeah, I don't know. I grew up with Uber, right? And I always thought it was so interesting how this isn't really on a platform where we have to find a truck driver and get him in touch with the shipper and arrange the transportation. Where I'm like, that's what Uber's doing. But then once you're really into it and you see how many times problems arise that no software could really handle, it made sense why brokers are still around in 2023 and onward.
For sure. And that's a great way to explain it, I think, for folks who are listening that don't exactly know the intricacies, especially for a lot of like marketing folks. They come into the industry, they really have no idea, and they're just supposed to cover the entire industry. So that's a really good explanation, I think, for those folks. Now, so you had this internship, you're working for free. What does that next step look like for you did you immediately become a freight agent after that jump, or were there other roles that you took on first?
Yeah, so there's two things I could do to make money. It's either I get my own customer base and do sales and operations, or there's a couple agents within the SPI network that were looking to hire somebody. And I was like 19 at the time, maybe 20. And I needed to get some money fast. And so there was one agent in particular named Colette, and she had so much work and she didn't take a day off for 12 years. She worked every single day and
Wow.
she just needed somebody that she could train to help her with the operation so that she could at least take a vacation with her family. And so she offered me a job on an hourly basis. And, but it had the condition that I could build my own book of business alongside it.
Hmm.
So it's a best of both worlds scenario where I could be my own agent while still getting enough money to keep a roof over our head at the time.
How did you know that you wanted to be an agent? Why not, I guess, maybe work at SPI corporate or another role? What made you really drawn to the agent program?
Just the unlimited potential. You can't beat that. And I don't know, I always had the entrepreneurial spirit inside of me. I always wanted to run my own company, but it's so scary and there's so many risks involved, especially at a young age. And I got married at a young age and wanted to provide for a family. But I just love the idea that you get out of it what you put into it. So it's the best of both worlds where you can run your own business and have unlimited potential for making money while not having too much risk of overhead or accounting or any extras that are usually involved.
Yeah, I was talking to a girlfriend of mine who works in the industry too, and I was like, I'm pretty sure, like after talking to a bunch of SBI agents, you, of course, you just hinted to it. I think the freight agent program is one of the best, maybe the best entrepreneurial journeys that you can
Mhm.
take in freight. Would you agree with that, or would you, I guess,
For
more
sure.
caution?
It probably depends on your personality too and the opportunities that are offered to you and your network that you have.
Mhm.
Anyone can build a network, so that's a little mundane, but it just depends on your personality. If you can build relationships with the customer and have good communication skills, and then you also have a knack for the operation side, then it doesn't make sense not to do it. It's just too many opportunities are available to you to make really great money to not do it if you can pair together your sales and operation talents.
And so when you're working underneath Colette, one of the agents, you said she works every single day. So did that maybe scare you at all that you're going to have to be working every single day, or was it one of those challenges that you saw that maybe you could make some improvements to have that work-life balance if it exists in the freight world?
I just went in understanding that for the next 10 years, I probably wouldn't get a day off. And I'm fine. I always said that I'll dedicate my 20s to building up my own company to hopefully have an enjoyable 30s and relaxing 40s. So it's always my motto. So I just wasn't scared. For her, she was 50 at the time. So it made more sense for her to want to scale back. For me, I'm still hungry enough where I don't need a day off. It's all good. We can keep going. So I
It's
just don't worry about it.
What was the dynamics maybe of working with her? Because most, I guess, brokers are and freight agents, of course, are very protective of their customers and their customer base. She's over here sharing that knowledge with you. What were those kind of early insights, tips that you learned from her that have helped you grow your business?
Yeah, she still is very hands-on and very likes to take control of her customers. So it was hard for her to give me the ability to email them directly and to call them directly. We're at a good spot where I still can. And even other agents I've helped out at that spot with them too, where they trust me because
Hmm.
my track records prove that I'm not going to ruin the relationship. I'm going to enhance the relationships
Hmm.
with their customers. And so from Colette specifically, I learned that not only is there no days off and you have to be available 24/7, but it's also that you have to take it seriously. You have to treat it like it's your baby. Treat it their freight with more care and attention than they'll do with you.
And so you had mentioned something interesting just there. You mentioned working under other agents. So you're able to work under multiple agents with this program?
Yeah, I was. That's where my niche within the logistic industry, specifically SPI, is I've been able to help a couple different agents. And that's so I have my own customer base that I work with. And then there's been 4 or 5 different other agents that needed help with the specific lanes or maybe with specific customers just because they had too much work and they didn't want to hire an employee. And so it's me just doing a commission split with them and
Oh,
they
wow.
get
That's
money
cool.
for not doing any work and I get my customer and my own revenue out of it. So it's great.
So, how long have you been building up kind of your own book of business? Give us a sense of the time frame of that internship that you got, and it was 6 months, and then you start working underneath other agents. So, how long, I guess, have you been in the industry overall?
Yeah. So 20 and then probably the first 6 months with just SBI's head office, just
Mhm.
interning. Then Colette, it was probably a year with Colette. and then probably another year after that with another agent. And then I got my own customers.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was a multiple year process. So that's why it was nice to have that revenue coming in from multiple sources before, because without that, it would be really tough, really tough to do it from the start with no income sources to just get your own customers and start making money. It'll take it's a lot of time.
Yeah, because I would think that you have like a unique model on how you got into freight because most of the time from people that I've talked to, they've been in freight for forever, they had their own customer contacts, then they go out on their own as a freight agent or they're already an existing freight agent for forever and then they want to for whatever reason their current provider is not working so they want to make the jump to SPI. But you went a different path where you worked under agents and you really proved yourself with working that initial 6 months for free before you started working with these other companies. So how did you get from the point of you're working with other agents, but now you're starting to get your own customers? How did you start that process of going out and trying to get your own customers?
I pick up the phone and start dialing. That's all it is. It's the Wolf of Wall Street. Pick up the phone and start dialing. It's old school, but that's really, unless you know somebody, you go to a pickup basketball game and somebody's a shipping manager. Oh, great. Here's my card. But that's so rare that's going to happen. So it's more so just finding a business that you might have delivered at, or maybe somebody's referenced you to them. And you're a friend of a friend can get you an introduction. And then you just give them a call and see what they're currently doing. If they need any help. And if they do, perfect. Yeah, ever in.
Any do you do any kind of your own marketing or your is just strictly like pound the phones?
Yeah, I try with LinkedIn. It's pretty tough. It's pretty tough to do it because most of the people that are going to be on LinkedIn are going to be other sales reps, I find. So to get the decision makers that are going to choose a transportation provider, it more so has to just get them at a time on the phone where they're frustrated with their current transportation provider and they're looking for a change. And sometimes all it is just luck. Sadly, that sometimes that's just all it boils down to.
And so you're just finding them on LinkedIn and then pounding the phones and trying to tell me, walk me through what that process looked like for your first couple like big customers. Is it simple as just cold calling them?
Yeah, cold calling, or one of the ones somehow end up on an email list for them selling forklifts. And I
Hmm.
was like, that's weird them on your email list randomly. It must have been someone bought the email through some sort of auto
Zoom
auto sense.
info.
And so, well, if you're going to solicit me, I'll solicit you. And then I got in with a guy that does some of their transportation projects and been great. That was probably 5 years ago that happened. And I work with them ever since too.
So are you still doing the cold calling every day? Walk me through that part of the process, or you're pretty busy enough that you don't have to do that.
Yeah, I'm at that point for the last probably year where I haven't had to do any cold calling for new sales, which has been really nice, just handling the operations. But then again, it also comes to the point where do you want to grow it and become a full enterprise, or are you happy with just being status quo for the last year and
Hmm.
maintaining that sort of book of business? So that's the battle that I have to fight every single day, what to do.
Let's talk a little bit about that because I think that's interesting for a lot of business owners out there. It's like things are going good. I don't want
Mhm.
to rock the boat, that some kind of wrench in the future is going to get thrown into the middle. So, how are you thinking about how you're going to grow? Does it look like hiring? Does it look like streamlining AI? What is your thought process around growing?
Yeah, I love AI. So we'll see what that does. I don't know what it's going to do to our industry or how I'm going to be able to utilize it besides just simply making captions on LinkedIn or helping me write captions for LinkedIn. That's
Oh,
what all
nice.
useful for it so far. So we'll see what happens over the next 5, 10 years with that. But short term, right now, always debating whether bringing in an employee so then I can grow. I can just teach them the operations. Then I can go back to doing cold calling and sales and try and grow the business a little bit more, and it's just perfect timing because my wife was looking for a change in her career paths. I offered her to come in to the office, home office, and we can just start doing operations together. And if she likes it, perfect. Then she can take over the operations and I can start working on growing a little bit.
I love that you brought that up because that was one of the interesting questions that I wanted to talk to you about is how does that process look like for her? Because maybe it was like a little bit of deja vu for you going through that same sort of training process. So how did your initial training help to, guess, guide her initially with the training? Does she know a lot about freight or are you having to teach her a lot of those things now?
No, it's the exact same. Zero knowledge with transportation and the freight market. And it's funny because she works for the school board, so she gets the summers off. So it's literally identical to my storyline where just spend a couple months, intern, for lack of a better quote or a better word, intern with me for the summer. And if you like it, stay with it. And if you don't like it, just go back and we'll figure it out. Maybe I do hire a different employee, but so far she loves this, so I'm sure it'll just work out.
Oh, that's cool. So what parts do you think that she loves and what parts are maybe a little bit challenging for her that you've witnessed?
Probably the difference between like LTL, partial, truckload. So all the operations behind that, especially LTL. LTL is a tricky one when you're
Yeah.
dealing with NMFC in class and specific carriers that have or work under either common carrier or contract carrier basis. So the operations, the intricacies of the operations, probably not the service level, but the tough part of the operations that can set you apart from other brokers.
So she's been on the job for what, a couple months now? Does it look like she's gonna go back to the school board job, or you think she's gonna stick with freight?
I think she'll stick with it because
That's
once you're in it and you can start seeing, especially once you start seeing the commission cuts that can happen on a load, it gets almost addicting to look at the numbers. And especially when you don't have to deal with little kids all day and it's getting harder and harder for people that work in the school board, sadly. And their pay never goes up, it seems. And they're always battling for pennies on the hour more. Whereas this, it's just go get another customer. If you want more money, just go get another customer. It's simple as that. Nobody's holding you back besides your own motivation level.
Yeah, that's well said. And so with the type of customers that you're going, are you going after a specific lane? Are you going, and not that you don't have to share anything personally that you don't want to, of course, but is there a special kind of like commodity or mode that you guys specialize in?
Yeah, it depends. I've worked with all different types of shippers over the years now. It seems like my best suited is with open deck flatbed work. It just seems like the truck drivers are better. It seems like the carriers are more reputable. You have a way lower chances of there being a double broker involved because when my forklift's operating, I tell them the truck driver, the name of the company that's picking up the load. So he just see it on the truck driver's the door right there what the company name is. So he can see right away. So it minimizes the risk
Mm.
involved with shipping. I like to stick with flatbed and open deck work, but there's definitely times where you move vans and reefer loads and whatever else the customer needs you to do. LTL.
Yeah, for sure. I think for this industry, you say yes to all the freight and then you figure it out after the
Yeah.
fact.
Yeah. That's what I was talking about with another guy when I was talking with him because he asked me, do you think it's better to have a niche or do you think it's better to look at anything and everything? And it just depends on where you are in the
Mhm.
transportation. If you have experience, maybe it is better to go for a niche. But if you're starting off brand new, I don't think you have that luxury to go niche. You have to just test it all out and see what you're good at, see what you like to do, and build it from there.
Yeah, said. And so you had mentioned earlier about using AI to come up with captions for LinkedIn. Walk me through a little bit of that process. What are you inputting into? Is it ChatGPT? Like, what's your tool of choice?
Yeah, ChatGPT for sure, just because that was the easiest one to get signed up with. And Microsoft bought it, I'm pretty sure. So obviously it's pretty good if they're going to spend billions on a product. And artificial intelligence, the trouble is right now is the prompt. The prompt is what creates the response. So your prompt that you're putting in is going to create what it's going to reply to you. And so you have to be strategic with what you tell it to do. And so I will tell it, act like a marketing manager for a transportation management firm and create a caption for our LinkedIn profile. The the post is going to include a couple of pictures of the truck driver delivering
Mhm.
to a job site in Sacramento, California. So it'll be 3 or 4 sentences, and it'll come off with this lavish fictional novel 5 paragraph story. So then you have to say, no, that's not what I want. The 3 to 4 sentences maximum. Reduce the adjectives by 50% and let's make it more professional. And then it'll do that. And then you play around with it. And the more you use it, the better you become at it. And it does become a really useful tool, I found.
Yeah, for sure. I keep 3 tabs so I keep ChatGPT, I keep Bard open, and Claude, and so I was telling my boyfriend the other day that I think that this battle that they're all gonna get a little bit better than the other one. It's almost like a constant race, but I think this battle is like the PlayStation versus Xbox of our time right now, where
Yeah.
each one's gonna get a little bit better, but you gotta
Mhm.
keep trying them out, and one thing I will say is with the Claude platform, which I don't think a lot of people have been using, it's free, first of all. but you can upload spreadsheets, you can upload text documents, Word documents to it, which ChatGPT, you can do a little bit with that with the different
Mhm.
plugins, but it's not as user friendly as Claude. Like, and it's better at writing so far. So right now, as far if there's like a race going on, highly recommend checking out Claude because it's one of those things where it's a game changer. Once you start uploading files and it's like, find the error in the spreadsheet. And it just
Mm,
saves you so much time and
that's insane.
it saves you from looking at a blank screen and wondering what to create, what to write, which I would imagine that's helping you with like your LinkedIn marketing.
Totally. Yeah, I've never heard of Claude, so I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's Google has Bard, which is okay. ChatGPT, of course, is really good. That's Microsoft's, and then Anthropic. So there's three companies that are like the leaders as far as like AI is concerned. And Anthropic doesn't get mentioned nearly as much as it should because I think they're more like, privacy focused. You can upload your own data to them and not worry that they're going to scrape it and sell it off to anybody else. But that's my AI pitch. But
Yeah.
you'd mentioned LinkedIn. What other social media platforms, if at all, are you using to maybe find customers or source customers? Is it really just LinkedIn?
Yeah, that's about all I've ever used. I'm always tempted to do what I do on LinkedIn and transfer it over to Instagram or
Mm.
TikTok of some sort. Just what I'm putting on there. I haven't started doing that yet, but I'm always tempted. It's just another thing that's going to be on your to-do list.
For
So I'm
sure.
hoping the wife stays with it and she can handle that stuff because she loves
Yes,
social media. So you become the
that's your
queen of it.
ticket.
Yeah, social media marketer, operations, she'll wear many hats.
Yes, that is I think the journey of American or North American entrepreneurs is wearing all of the hats, and hopefully
Exactly.
you get the check to cover all of those
I
services.
know. That's so funny. That's
Alright, what about email marketing? Are you doing any kind of, like, cold email outreach or anything like that?
not on a massive scale, no, but definitely if ooh, there might be a few guys where you move 1 or 2 loads for them and then they disappear, and so you put them on your email list that so it's not really cold email, it's more of a warm email just
Mm,
to see where they're at, and maybe you did fail the first shipment and you gotta get a second chance and you gotta beg them for it, or maybe they just forgot about you because 'cause they're such a big company or maybe they moved on to a different position in the company and that's why they haven't emailed you, is somebody took it on and they brought their own transportation provider. And when you give that warm email back to them, reminding them that you're around and can help them with whatever logistics that they need assistance with, and they can give you the contact that's in charge of that now at their company. So it's more
and so
warm emails than cold.
for sure, yeah, cold email, I haven't I'm not I got it, it's one of those things that's on the to-do list.
Yeah.
I'll cover it when I can get a chance, but right now, it's a good thing to have inbound leads and trying to grow your current customers, and speaking of growing your current customers, how are you expanding that? Are freight company or are shippers right now expanding what they're offering as far as, like, opportunities to bid on that new freight, or is it all just survival mode right now?
Yeah, probably depending on who you talk to, they'll have different answers. I've noticed it's definitely plateaued this year, if not decreased a little bit, which is okay. But I do know other agents that have been growing it exponentially because there are major transportation companies that are asset based are going out of business right now. And if they have specialties with what those companies do, then they can go in and say, hey, I remember that you worked with Yellow, for instance, right now. I know that you use Yellow as your primary carrier. With them going to business, we have a full network of a lot of different options that can probably replace them and give you a better service level, at least for the time being. And you can test it out just as a temporary placeholder while that's getting figured out. And I'm sure that they're going to do great with that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's almost like vultures or something like circle,
Yeah, it is. I could definitely see that. Yeah, a lot of vultures. Yeah.
except for
Yeah,
the
that's
trucking
cool.
company is dying and the customers still have a chance at survival. So why not be the one that helps them
Right.
with a little bit of water? So that's the way I see
Yeah.
it, anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what would you say are the top issues besides plateauing or the freight industry plateauing right now? It does look like it may, knock on wood, pick up later on
Yep,
in the year for the holiday
for
season,
sure.
early 2024. What other, I guess, maybe two or three challenges that you're dealing with market wise in the industry trying to cover freight?
Right now, trying to cover freight's pretty easy, to be honest, just
Mm,
because there's a lot of trucks on the road and not a lot of shipments. So operations wise, it's been a breeze. It probably is the biggest dilemma that transportation providers can be finding is to get the customers.
mm.
That's what I would predict is majority of people. are struggling with is to try and build their business in this time. Because operation wise, it's pretty seamless. If you have a load, you're going to get it covered for market price. It's not going to go for above market price, or you're not going to really have to haggle prices too much, which is nice. Super nice.
And so with your business right now, are you still a sub agent or you almost treat you have your own book of business and then it's almost like different revenue streams from the different agents, if I understand that correctly, right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and
Oh,
so I view the agents I work with as my customers, to be honest,
oh,
because
okay.
I have to keep them happy. Otherwise, they wouldn't use me. So I view these other agents that I work with, these big dog agents at SPI, I view them as my customers and I treat them as such and want to make sure I do the best to keep them happy.
For sure. That's it. I feel like that's a perfect scenario where you
Yeah.
can have access to additional customers and help out your agents that are on the same platform and the same program as you. And you don't necessarily have to worry about somebody trying coming in and trying to steal your customers away. Now,
Yep.
from I guess a technology standpoint, you have a unique position where you've been in the industry for a handful of years. So I guess maybe you haven't witnessed sort of the tech revolution that's been going on over the last handful of years in this space. Do you have any like favorite software within freight that you just can't live without?
Besides, like, the load boards like DAT and truck stop, I don't think I could that's definition, I could not live without those
Hmm.
because like, get any loads covered. We've done a few different CMS and programs since I've been here, even in the short period. When we first started, we had a program that was it must have been from the '90s. It was pretty old school, and then we've tried a few different ones along the way, and right now, the one that we're using with Revanova, it's been pretty solid, and SPI is their own IT department, which is insane to me. That's so cool. And they're able to customize the software to each agent, not even just to SPI, but if I need something done specifically for my book of business or something added in, they can easily do it. They have their own IT department that can add it in. So that way it just makes your job so much easier.
Yeah, for sure. Eze has been on the show previously. That's actually
Oh,
one of our
good.
more popular episodes. Is
Really?
everybody loves tech for some reason. I thought that I wasn't in tech topics. It can be a lot of folks maybe not interested in the tech side of things, but that episode numbers did very well. So there's a lot of folks out there that are interested in what SBI's tech has to offer. I guess maybe with your current business, where do you I guess maybe the task that you're doing right now that you don't want to do?
That's a good question. I think the
Or the task
easiest
may
to yeah, it's so funny because I just love it. So I love doing it all. There's not really a task that is involved where I'm like, "Oh, I'll dread it." It's if you talk to a new customer, you're making a new friend. I love that. With operations, you feel so satisfied when you're getting the loads covered and the customer is so satisfied that you're helping them out too and getting it done on time and on budget. And it's every day there's multiple almost goals. And every time you reach the goal, every load you book is a goal. And it's just constantly ticking off goals all day long. So I don't think there's anything too much. Maybe social media, 'cause it's just another task until you start seeing the
right.
rewards. Until you start reaping rewards, it's like, why am I even doing this? And I've been doing it for like months now. I haven't hasn't done anything.
Oh, really?
That's one of the
Let's talk about that. I wanna hear where maybe, like, your struggle moments are happening on social.
yeah, I just when I do it on social, the feedback that I get or like the people that reach out after are usually headhunters for other transportation providers or other sales reps from other industries that want to headhunt you for their sales job. I feel like that's more so what I'm getting
Huh.
than a shipper that says, "Hey, I love your post. It seems like you're really knowledgeable. Do you want to test it out?" So maybe it's just my network that I have on LinkedIn too.
How often are you posting?
Probably like once or twice a week. It's not much.
Okay. And so you haven't had any, I guess, maybe leads that have reached out or probably not so far?
No, nothing so far on that, which is understandable because the Gary Vaynerchuk model is just post as much as you can and don't expect anything back. And that's what I'm doing. Just provide knowledge, provide knowledge. And you never know when it's going to hit somebody that says, "Hey, that actually has to do just with what I have going on today."
100%. Because I think the overwhelming majority of people, they just scroll social media. They don't interact. It's what the term I think is called dark social, where you don't interact at all, but you'll take a screenshot and you'll send it to a friend. And you'll send it as an email to yourself and you'll keep a mental note until you're ready to make that buying decision, which let's be honest, for shippers right now, they're sitting pretty. They don't have to make those kinds of decisions. They
Yeah.
have brokers and agents beating down their door, so they don't have
Yeah.
to worry about finding new providers unless something like a yellow situation
Yeah,
happens where they gotta pretty much scramble.
totally.
Okay, so I guess time to get into a little bit of maybe a little rapid fire questions. I had
Yeah.
pitched this before, but you had mentioned talking about LinkedIn and using LinkedIn. Are there any other marketing tasks or sales tasks that you would like to try in the future that you just haven't had time to?
Visiting my customers in person, face to face. I know that's what Mike, the VP of sales and operations at SPI, he's always reminding the agents the importance of going and seeing your customers face to face. It's just with where I'm at, operations is so busy during the day. I couldn't picture myself leaving. And from where I have to fly out to see the customers all across North America. So that's just such a daunting task. It's something that I know I need to do, but never done yet.
Yeah, that's a great point because I was asking it from like the lens of like digital media and like social, but that is so important to be able to meet people in person. Using social is one thing, like your digital handshake, but being able to cement that relationship with visiting them in person is definitely, I feel like, a goal for any business owner that they should seek out. And as you grow your business, as you are implementing, you mentioned SBI having such a great IT department. What about other like software programs? What is your favorite SaaS tool that you like to use on maybe a daily basis or a weekly basis?
Yeah, we touch base on the load boards. That's probably the only SaaS tools I use. That I don't know of any other SaaS tools that I use besides the load boards because that's all I need really just to handle the operations. You have LoadLink and in Canada, and then you have DAT and Truck Stop down in the States.
And then you mentioned Renova was one of those other
Yeah.
ones that you like to
Yeah,
use as well.
Revenova. Yeah, yeah. So
Revenova.
Revenova is the full on software that we use. So yeah, those ones, yeah, would all
And
be
what I as far as we round out the questions, as you have a good example of your wife joining the business and you're helping her learn the ropes within the freight industry. But for somebody else who is thinking about becoming a freight agent, what advice would you give to them as they start out on this journey?
maybe you can go and see. I was fortunate enough when I first started with SPI. After a few months of interning, I didn't know if it was going to be my future. I got invited to their annual meetup called Rendezvous, and it was in Vancouver, right in our hometown. And I had the opportunity to go, and I got to meet all these agents, and everyone was over 50 years old for the most part. And I was the only person that was in their 20s, definitely. And so it was a pretty cool opportunity to see the industry that maybe is aging a little bit, but you can come in with your youth and vigor and not be scared to put in those 10 years of hard work to reap the benefits for the next 50 years. Cause that's what every agent does. They work super hard, very hard, and don't take a break for maybe 10 years, 5 to 10 years. And then all of a sudden you can put it all on autopilot and just have the revenue keep coming in while you're doing your operations to keep your customers satisfied.
Yeah, for sure. It almost sounds like a mini retirement plan for some of these folks that have been running their agency for a while.
Yeah, and when my wife came with me to Rendezvous this year, that's one thing she's "It's so sad. You see all these older agents." I'm like, "Sad, they love it. And they don't have to." I was like, "Cause she grew up with the thought that you're gonna work till 65 and retire, hard retire, and that's when you get to enjoy life." I was like, "These guys have been enjoying life. They don't dread going to work. They love going to work. I love going to work. Waking up and going to work is exciting. I don't dread it whatsoever." And so you don't really fear working every single day and maybe not getting those lavish vacations for months at a time.
But like you said earlier, if you can work really hard in your 20s, then that kind of sets you up for your 30s and your 40s to be way easier. And then maybe you can still be the young guy in the room as the other agents. That the funnel system still reaps its benefits, I think.
Totally. I'm sure it'll be that case. And sure, SBI will maybe get more guys involved, more younger crew involved, and they can follow the path that I took because so far it's been successful. So why not replicate it?
Heck yeah, especially for a lot of folks out there that you're looking for a changing career, you're looking for something that, is going to have longevity. People always need their loads moved.
Yeah.
Logistics industry is not going anywhere. It'll always be here, and so there's plenty of opportunities to earn a living within this industry if you want to put in a little bit of the work. As we round out this interview, where can folks follow you? LinkedIn, follow more of your work, check out those LinkedIn posts, maybe refer some shippers.
Yeah, just Tynan Guthrie on LinkedIn and then take a page out of Brad Clark's book when you interviewed him and just send out any phone calls to SBI head office.
He also had a really great tip too, because I was asking him about his marketing plan, and he was like, "I don't really have," I'm paraphrasing, but "I don't really have a marketing plan, but I will
Yeah.
respond to people on email." So if he gets
Oh,
copied in on an
nice.
email and he sees somebody else that he hasn't worked with before, then he'll send them a separate email, which I thought was a really good insight. Because think of how many
Yeah,
emails that we get every day and we just delete it because it's almost like a to-do list. But he treats it as sort of his sales funnel that he can
I
build
love that.
relationships with, which is super
I love
smart.
that. Yeah, he's so smart. He's a great guy to learn from, and that's why I've done work with Brad for the last couple years too, and feel very blessed to have all these agents that have been able to teach me all their tips and tricks and how to keep a successful business going.
Heck yeah, all great insight. So appreciate you sharing yours, and hopefully we can follow up in maybe the next year and then hear how you and your wife both have your own thriving freight agent businesses, which is really
I
cool to
love
see.
that. Yeah, I love that. That sounds so great.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Blake.